Now, don't get me wrong, I'm no fan of Hillary Clinton. I'm probably not going to be voting for her in November. I'm most likely going to be leaving the Democratic Party if they nominate her. I've learned that they are more interested in maintaining the status quo than they are moving forward quickly. I want them to move forward with things that they think are common sense issues fast, in a hurry, because this is not a numbers game. These are people's lives on the line. There are 311 people in America, and I think they deserve better life. If you have better social policies, you have a happier population and a better democracy. And the whole purpose of creating the society that you want is to create the happiest society that you want. You're never going to get a perfect one, but you want to move forward as quickly as possible. And I just don't see the Democrats willing to do that via the ruling on the Citizens United, where they really are basically just bought. And even though you might catch them alone and they'll tell you that a lot of the things that maybe someone like Bernie Sanders is advocating for out in public, they'll tell you that they don't really like it. They don't like it. And they have to say that because the people who are funding their campaign. Give me a second. Sorry about that. The people who are funding their campaigns won't fund their campaigns anymore if they start to tip the apple cart to any large degree. But the benefits of free college education are vast, obviously. Let's start with the one most near and dear to my heart and near and dear to maybe a lot of your hearts is you have a better educated population. You have less conspiracy theories. When I say conspiracy theories, I am not talking about the ones that are true. I'm talking about reptilian overlords, for instance, shapeshifters, shape-shifting politicians, they say. 9/11 was an inside job, and all this other stuff that people are saying. Those types of conspiracy theories. The Earth is actually flat. The flat earthers that are out right now, evolution isn't a real thing. It's actually just a conspiracy by the devil to manipulate your mind and send you to hell, etc., etc., etc. I'm not trying to hear any of that. When you have free public college tuition for the vast majority of the population, the vast majority of the population will seize that opportunity, just as they did with the GI Bill. And once they seize that opportunity, unfortunately in America right now, education doesn't really start. Good education doesn't actually start until you reach college. That's when you start learning about philosophy, how to break something down to its very basic fundamental components and reason your way up from there. That's when you really start learning about logics, for instance. There's so many things that you learn in college that you don't learn in high school and in middle school. And now that hundreds of millions of Americans are going to be blessed with this tremendous opportunity, you can expect less conspiracy theories. If it passes, you can expect less conspiracy theories over the next couple decades. You'll be able to expect the transition from a 70% religious society to a more secular society, more and more secular society. And by secular, I mean non-religious, I mean pretty much agnostic atheist society, just like how it is in Europe. In Europe, they say they're Christians, but they're Christians in culture only and not Christians in belief so much. They don't so much believe in angels and all that. There are some, but most of them aren't really willing to even talk openly about those beliefs because they're kind of crazy. They sound crazy. So anyways, there's that. Less conspiracy theories, less voting on your religion, voting on what the Bible tells you. That's a tremendous victory for democracy. Democracy improves greatly when the people are informed and they can vote politicians who are informed. The only reason anybody would ever vote for Donald Trump is if they're either so concerned about radical Islam and Muslim. I was talking to a Trump supporter today. He's willing to ignore the white supremacist views. He's willing to ignore his bigotry towards Muslims and towards basically anybody who's not a white guy. Basically, Trump lashes out at anybody who's just not a white guy, and now his entire base almost is nothing but white guys. So you won't have people voting for Donald Trump anymore in a college or in a country that has free college tuition. You're just not going to see Trumps of the world rise to prominence in this way. You will occasionally, but that's when people get desperate. When people get desperate, both goodness and evil can thrive, and we learned that from Martin Luther King Jr. People can stick behind you in their desperation if a good leader rises up, but they'll just as easily rally behind a maniac, an evil maniac like Donald Trump or Adolf Hitler. So there's that. If people are more highly educated, obviously that is a good boom for the economy. Those are more higher paying jobs. Now, I'm well aware that robotics is most likely, and it's not most likely, I'm being too generous. It is going to take an absolute shit ton of jobs. Robotics over the next couple years, I think 20 or 30 years, according to the UN, is going to take, I think 70 or 80% of the jobs that make $30 an hour or less. $30 an hour or less over the next 30 years. Robotics is an enormous threat to capitalism. It is the greatest threat to capitalism that you could possibly imagine, and I think I have a solution to that. I'll talk about that later in the following weeks or maybe following months. But even though you may not be able to avoid the huge blow in wages because of a higher education over the next couple decades, you definitely will have a happier society, because people who are more educated know how to handle themselves, articulate themselves better, communicate better with one another, and that increases the health of society and honestly just the health of relationships, general relationships. Studies show that more educated people have longer lasting and healthier relationships, and much of that has to do with them being financially stable. So that's one huge topic off the table that people have to fuss and fight about. But not only that, but they're able to communicate with one another a little bit better and jump to conclusions a little less often, which is terminal to any lasting romantic relationship. You don't want to jump to assumptions all the time. So there are a lot of spinoffs to this. Let's hope that Hillary Clinton is able to pass this. Let's hope that she is genuine. I am still going to leave the Democratic Party and join the Green Party. But you know, I can hate Hillary Clinton a little less because of this. I still think she's a terrible decision maker. I still think that she's extremely corrupt. I still think that she's exceedingly self-centered. But you know, I'll take the wins that I can get, and I think all of us should be happy with that.